Tonight, in this edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinoxe Television, gender promoters in Cameroon take the lead in the fight for a violent-free election come the 7th of October in Cameroon. As Cameroon commemorates World Peace Day, peace advocates have pledged to play an active role during the 7th of October presidential election in the country. But can the socio-political climate in the northwest, southwest regions of Cameroon guarantee hitch-free presidential election in Cameroon? We, of course, will be talking about that in the second part of this newscast. We, of course, will be talking about the activities of all the candidates vying for post of the presidential election in the country, as well as the situation of roads in the southwest regional headquarters of Boya. Those are top stories. We shall be right back with the details. Stay with us. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is 6 p.m. and you're watching the primetime newscast on Equinoxe Television. On the occasion of the World Peace Day, or the International Peace Day, commemorated across the national territory today, peace advocates and actors involved in the electoral process have taken a united action against violence during the electoral period. Meeting in Douala this Friday, it was revealed that some 171 persons have so far been trained to monitor and denounce cases of violence during election come the 7th of October in Cameroon. The initiative, spearheaded by promoters or coordinators of Women for Peace Initiative and Women International League for Peace and Freedom, is also focused on the role of women in guaranteeing a peaceful and transparent election in Cameroon. The 171 trained election observers would also work with contenders involved in the race to a 2D. Organizers urge voters to respect election results and challenge the government to respect the rule of law in enhancing transparency during the 7th of October presidential election in the country. Mrs. Sylvie NDONGMO of Women for Peace Initiative is going to be coming back to the importance of the seminar which took place in Douala today. She was speaking to Gladys CJ. Take a listen.
As a women's organization working for peace, what are the candidates planning to do, especially during the period of the campaign, to ensure that violence is not the rule of law? So what are they doing? So the dialogue is just to make sure that on the 7th of October, we should make a priority. Peace be a priority. That's why we are engaging this dialogue, to ensure that we know that at the end of the day, we have to rule. We have to rule people. But if there is disorder, if everybody is, security is at stake, it's going to be very difficult. So it's a call that we are making through this conference, so that everyone takes action, especially candidates who are starting the campaign tomorrow. It's very important to educate their militants in the way they are going to speak to the public, in the way the word they are going to use. Because today you have so many head messages. No, that's not very proper considering the security challenges. So it's important for all of us, especially the candidates, to engage in program about educating their militant, educating the population to use non-violence as a way to solve conflict.
And Mrs. Sylvie NDONGMO is going to be our guest in the second part of this newscast. She's going to be talking about the International Peace Day and how they are planning to guarantee hitch-free and peaceful election come the 7th of October in Cameroon. Now, Joshua Osi, presidential candidate of the Social Democratic Front Party, has reassured that he is ready to undertake his campaign in the conflicted northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon. He says that it is going to be an opportunity to tell the aggrieved population to vote for change. Details with Innocent Aze.
Despite increasing threats advanced by separatist forces to mar any political activity in Anglophone Cameroon linked with the October 7, 2018 presidential election, O.C. Joshua, presidential candidate of the Social Democratic Front Party, declares confidently he will, in the days ahead, campaign in the northwest and southwest regions hit by the Anglophone crisis.
The elections were called up with that situation existing, and we filed in a candidate that I am with the present situation. It means that before filing in that candidacy, before going in for an extraordinary convention where I got elected, we already knew that we'll campaign in those regions.
Even his campaign team, he knows, is ready to work effectively in these regions. O.C. Joshua adds the high insecurity rates in the trouble-hit regions will in no way serve as obstacle to the process that aims at bringing change in Cameroon. He wins momentum from religious authorities who preach peace and demand an end to violence in Cameroon, particularly during this crucial moment as the nation prepares to go to the poll.
The 7th of October election is a referendum for peace in the Northwest and the Southwest. The war in the Northwest and Southwest has been brought about by the current regime, and the Cameroonian people can use the 7th of October ballot to bring an end to that war.
The recommendations made by religious for the Anglophone crisis to be resolved, he says, matches with his program to bring lasting solution to the socio-political crisis when he becomes president, October 7.
So I'm happy that they have the same vision as the SDF militants who chose me as a candidate, and I'm happy they understand that for peace to come to the Northwest and the Southwest, change needs to occur during the 7th October election.
During a press conference in Douala, O.C. Joshua revealed he had paid no interest on the 15 million francs CFA dished out to opposition candidates as public campaign fund, an amount which many candidates have termed humiliation.
For every presidential election, there has been more or less that amount. In 2011, if my memory doesn't play a trick on me, it was half of that amount. So I don't see why people would expect to become rich because they are candidates in for an election. That's always what the government has been given, because the government does not want to finance democracy.
O.C. Joshua makes it clear SDF does not depend on the public campaign fund and that it will rely solely on its fund generating source.
We have the experience of how this government functions and will not fall into the trap of bringing up an issue where there is no issue.
The Social Democratic Front presidential candidate says he is ready to go for campaign with or without the public campaign fund, with victory being his goal. With everything said and done, O.C. Joshua launches his electoral campaign this Saturday, September 22nd, 2018, in the littoral region with a caravan from Douala to other towns in the Mungo division.
And just to know that campaigns ahead of the 2018 presidential election bid for the 7th of October would begin officially this night at exactly midnight. That is going to be early, the 22nd of September 2018. Meantime, the Minister of Territorial Administration has ruled in favor of Cabral Libby after the DO for Douala 5 and the Senior Divisional Officer for Vori Division banned the UNIVER Party's candidate from holding a planned rally Sunday at Stade Sikam in Douala. The Minad boss said that the meeting previewed on the 23rd of September is going to take place as planned. That is why the DO for Douala 5 this Friday issued a release authorizing the Sunday rally. He said that it is left to the candidate to work hand in hand with management at Stade Sikam to ensure the availability of the site. It should be noted that members of the UNIVER political party had maintained that the meeting must take place. Meantime, the CRM party candidate, Professor Maurice Kamto, is going to be launching his own campaign in two areas in the economic capital Douala. That's going to be tomorrow, precisely in the Douala 4 and Douala 5 subdivisions. It is going to be marking campaign activities ahead of the 7th of October presidential election in Cameroon. The PFD of Kerimuna, that is the flag bearer of the PFD political party, will be unveiling his manifesto that is going to be in the nation's capital, Yaoundé. Equinoxe television is on the ground monitoring the situation. We of course will be keeping you updated as soon as we are informed. Now, several years memory down memory lane rather, after it was announced the Cameroon Automobile Industry Company is expected to soon go operational. The Minister of Mines, Industry and Technological Development laid the foundation stone of the company today in the economic capital Douala. Babila Jonathan tells us more in the following report.
The signing of a binding agreement between the Urban Areas Land Management Authority, MACZ, and the Cameroon Automobile Industry Company, and the laying of the foundation stone of the latter, action is now awaited in the days ahead in Douala. Action expected to produce Cameroon-made or assembled automobile products.
Ce projet de mise en place d'une usine vise la manufacture.
Mines, Industries and Technological Development Minister Enes Kwabobu highlights the manufacturing and assembling of small and heavy-duty vehicles.
We have already the land. We have 27 square hectares.
And the general manager of the Cameroon Automobile. After the signing of a binding agreement between the Urban Areas Land Management Authority, MACZ, and the Cameroon Automobile Industry Company, and the laying of the foundation stone of the latter, action is now awaited in the days ahead in Douala. Action expected to produce Cameroon-made or assembled automobile products.
Ce projet de mise en place d'une usine vise la manufacture.
Mines, Industries and Technological Development Minister Enes Kwabobu highlights the manufacturing and assembling of small and heavy-duty vehicles.
We have already the land. We have 27 square hectares.
And the general manager of the Cameroon Automobile Industry Company, Rogin Jakam, says the operational platform on which Cameroonians and foreigners will operate is ready. The second step of the project will be a complete industry that will be established in Kribi, in the south region of Cameroon.
That is Babla Jonathan there reporting. Let us now talk about the first African Union Logistic Commands post-exercise, the meeting that was grouping heads of gendarmerie and police services and organizations under the African Union that ended in the economic capital Douala today. The exercise, dubbed in that Africa One, is designed to test African mission support processes to plan, rapidly deploy, sustain and liquidate African Union mandated forces support operations on the ground. It should be noted that the after the meeting, it was agreed that all the logistics are now available to be deployed on the field. The Chinese company or the Chinese army was equally available during the meeting that ended in the country's economic capital Douala today. During the kickoff of the ceremony that took place still here in the economic capital Douala, the director of the exercise from Uganda, Major General Nakibus Lakara, said that the pre-exercise training phase is now complete. Now is the operationalization period. Let's hear him in the following excerpt. He was speaking to our reporter, Innocent Abega.
First of all, the objectives of the exercise was to test, African Union supply chain systems and processes. And that is what the exercise was all about. It was not a usual CPX that had all the components, the force command and all. It was specifically focusing on supply chain systems and processes, right from acquisition to distribution. That's what the exercise was about. Extremely satisfied. After this, we expect that the African Union will take the recommendations from this IMDAD Africa One, a logistics exercise, and implement them in order to build on this as a foundation for future exercises.
That brings us to the end of this first segment of the news. Up next is Talking Point. We shall be right back. Stay with us. We announced earlier in this edition of the news that we are going to be talking about the International Peace Day, and tonight we have Madam Sylvie NDONGMO of the Women International League for Peace and Freedom. She's equally coordinating the Cameroon Women for Peaceful Election, a platform that is coordinated by WILPF. Good evening to you, Madam. Thank you so much for joining us tonight on Talking Point.
Good evening, Mayfo. It's my pleasure to be here today.
You're talking peace today. I know that you've been heading several peace initiatives. You are a peace advocate. When we talk about peace, what are some of those elements that promote peace in a country?
The first thing is love. It's very important to know that your neighbor is like you. You should treat your neighbor the way you want to be treated. The second thing is listening. You should listen, no matter how or what the person has to say. It's very important to take time to listen. It's very important also to dialogue, to talk with somebody. If somebody has an issue, it's very important to dialogue, because sometimes there are kind of misunderstanding. But because there is absence of dialogue, it ends by being a conflict. So it's very important to talk about dialogue as we are talking about peace. It's also very important to talk about forgiveness, tolerance, in order to talk peace, to teach peace and peace. Because if you don't forgive, we are going to come to stay in a cycle of violence forever and ever. So at a certain point, it's important to know that forgiveness is very important, because in one way or the other, you are bound to live together. So it's important to forgive, and before forgiving somebody, at least the person should recognize that he or she has done wrong. So these are some of the things which are very, very critical when we are talking about peace.
Without peace, without these elements, we cannot be talking about peace. When you look at our Cameroonian society, the economic, political, and social spheres in Cameroon, do you see these elements taking place? Do you see them present to be able to guarantee peace in Cameroon?
Yeah, before even coming to Cameroon, I'm very sorry to say that it's worldwide, because every day, every single day, when you listen to news, when you watch television, when you read, go on social media, everywhere there are the same words: fire, abduction, killings, and so on. So you are kind of worried. What is going on? So there is like increased violence worldwide. But if I come back to the case of Cameroon, we are still very, very worried. We are worried because the indicators are very alarming. We know that there were so many crises in Cameroon. Even before we had these issues in the northwest and southwest, we had this issue in the extreme north with the Boko Haram. You had the refugees in the east, and now you have so many internal crises. So I think that these are not very guaranteed. Why? Because we still lack what is the most important thing: dialogue, constructive dialogue. Until we have it, it will be very difficult to talk about peace. And also, let me tell you that when we are talking about peace, it's about sustainable peace. And to talk about sustainable peace, you need to interrogate the root causes of conflict. It's not about killing. Even because if people are not happy and you kill all the people who are not happy, you have not solved the problem. Can you address what is going on? What is the underlying reason why these people are not happy? So I keep saying that even if the Boko Haram, even if you want to kill all the people who are involved in Boko Haram, please, can you address why are the people able to become like terrorists? Why? So you should interrogate that. So that's the way we can build sustainable peace, by indicating, looking at the root causes of conflict and then addressing them.
Now, the peace is not here yet, like you have confirmed.
It's very complicated. But election is at hand. Peace, yeah.
Election is at hand. Is the Cameroon Women for Peaceful Initiative, or the Women International League for Peace and Freedom, worried about the situation?
Mimi, to be very honest,
because we are just few days to the
presidential election. We are extremely worried, because we are all in Cameroon. We are all living what is going on. We are worried. And today we even asked some political leaders, what do you feel about all this? Who are you going to rule? Every day you have all these challenges. People becoming IDPs or refugees in their own countries. So it's very complicated. You have all this travel ban, people moving from one place to the other. How can we conduct election in this? It's very complicated. So we are worried, because as the election is fast approaching, we have so many threats coming. So we are really worried. And when we look at the African environment, we see what happened in other countries with the elections. So we know that normally when we have election, there is a kind of tension. But in the case of Cameroon, we are worried about greater tension, because as the day is fast approaching, the
tension is mounting.
So we are really worried. That's why today, the meeting that we have today was a kind of engaging the political candidates. Mm-hmm. What are they thinking about all this? What are their plans? Because they need to have a plan if they want to rule a peaceful Cameroon. What are their plans? Campaign is starting in a few hours. How do they ensure the campaign is peaceful? How do they ensure less violence? How do they ensure that people sit at the same table? How do they ensure that even people go to vote? So these are some of the things that you are addressing. But to be very brief and concise, we are extremely worried because the indicators in the country are not really reassuring.
You say that you are worried, yet you're mapping plans to also guarantee a peaceful and violent-free election in Cameroon. You've talked about the training of more than 170 people to monitor and denounce cases of violence, especially during the electoral period. Do you have some targeted regions, or is it across the national territory?
It's across the national territory, but I want to say, before monitoring, it's about education. So the role that these observers have to do, they are like peace ambassadors. We have had 4 trainings, and after the trainings, they are called to go to communities and a kind of preach peace, teach peace, organize dialogue, do a kind of mediation. So it's not about only noting the violence and reporting. That is another aspect. But before that, the role that we want them to play is to educate, to sensitize the population on the use and on the fact that we cannot live without conflict. But how do we settle the conflict? That's the most important thing. So these observers are peace ambassadors that we are sending into communities to a kind of teach, educate the population. Because if we don't do that, it's the only way we can build sustainable peace, by teaching, by preaching, by even doing it ourselves. And the other aspect, as you rightly mentioned, is about observing. It's like an early warning mechanism. What we are doing is women's situation room. It's an early warning mechanism which takes action before.
Even in those conflicted regions you're going to be sending, what measures are you taking or putting in place to ensure that it is efficiently and effectively carried out?
Like today, during the training, we had political candidates, and we also had civil society. We had women from Bamenda and women from Boya. So it's about how strategies. What are the strategies? Because we have these very critical issues in the northwest and southwest. We need to also look for specific strategies to address people there. For example, in these specific cases, it's about making effort to listen more than before. Yeah, if you don't do that, you are going to fail. Even in the work we do, when you are going there, you have to reassure them, because at a certain point they will feel that maybe these people are coming, they are saying no. It's important to know that even if I've lost somebody, please, can we keep on moving into this? At a certain point, you have to stop and forgive and try as much as possible.
Can you attain your goal if your initiative is not supported by the government? Do you think that you can attain those objectives?
I feel that.
What is the role of the government in this peace maintenance and in the advocacy that you are conducting?
Yes, I would like to say that the advocacy, the Women's Situation Room Initiative, was adopted in 2012 during the pre-summit of the AU, of the head of state at the African Union. It means that it's a mechanism that the head of state have put in place to ensure that women are involved in peace processes. Therefore, of course, they feel that women have a role to play. We need their support, because we as civil society organization, what we are doing is just education. It's just alerting them, but they are the right people to take the right decision. Like now, what the observers are doing right now, I see everything that is likely to fuel violence, to make violence escalate. They are reporting it to us. In our turn, what do? We write to the competent authorities, and they have to take action. If they don't, it means that you are wasting our time. They really need to do that to support the initiative you are taking.
So would you end only at the level of maybe writing reports and denouncing?
No, of course. We are educating. We are educating and all the components of the society, including even state officials, on the importance of women being part and parcel of the processes. You know, some of them do not feel, they don't understand, not because they don't want to or they are wicked. No, they don't understand that women have a critical role to play, starting from the position they have in the society. Therefore, one of the things that we are doing is to trying to let the authorities know that because of this role that women have in the society, they can be real peace advocates. They should invest in those women if they want sustainable peace. All these youth, even in let's take about the case of Boko Haram, these kamikazes, girl kamikazes, of course, if they have a kind of conducive conversation in their family, it will be very important. So we really need, for example, to have access
and get the women involved.
Of course, and get the women
in the
involved.
decision-making circles.
Very critical. on the table.
There
Very
can be peace.
important.
Thank you so much, Madam Sylvie NDONGMO, for joining us tonight on Talking Point. We hope to have you some other time again.
Thank you so much, Mimi. It's my
Thank you
pleasure.
so much. That is the coordinator of Women International League for Peace and Freedom, and she's equally in charge of the Cameroon Women for Peaceful Election in Cameroon. That is on the sidelines of the International Peace Day that was commemorated today across the national territory. They're bringing us to the end of this edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinoxe Television. Wishing you a blessed stay in the company of our programs. Until we meet again, goodbye.